The ultimate upgrade, from zero to cosmic hero in a monster-filled world. Please like, share, and subscribe. Episode 51, Breaking the Second Limit. After returning to the tree house and taking off his robe, Gu Jin cooked a pot of snake soup and fried a few slices of snake meat. While eating, he took out his spiritual brain to search to see what the water lotus was. After a while, he found the introduction of the water lotus. Water lotus for condensing veins. Taking it can condense the meridians and increase the toughness of the meridians. It is also an important material for Tong Mai pill. Tong Mai pill is taken when the meridians are opened. It can protect the meridians and assist in opening the meridians. The price is not cheap, and the water lotus for condensing veins as the main material is naturally valuable. Not to mention refining Tong Mai pill, just the fact that it can condense the meridians is enough for practitioners to compete. And he saw the price on the official website of some big stores. One plant needs 30,000 primary spirit stones. As for the water lotus for condensing veins, he had no intention of taking it, because the effect brought by a water lotus for condensing veins is simply incomparable with his upgrade ability. What's more, the upgrade ability can upgrade the meridians to the limit and then break them, so if he takes it himself, it will undoubtedly be a waste. He checked the price and prepared to sell it. 30,000 spirit stones, not a small amount. After dinner, Gu Jin began to make array talismans and talismans. On the fourth day, at the edge of Shishan, dark clouds covered the sky, stretching endlessly, and heavy rain fell, making the ancient forest even darker. Late at night, Gu Jin opened his eyes, his mental strength had recovered, and he looked at the time. It was early morning, and suddenly a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. The upgrade times were refreshed, but after getting used to upgrading, Gu Jin rarely looked forward to the upgrade times refreshed as he did now. Because his meridians had been upgraded last night. Meridian, penetration, +3, toughness, +6. He could feel that the meridians had been upgraded to the limit last night, but due to caution, he did not try to use the upgrade times that broke the second limit. Instead, he waited until tonight, after the first limit upgrade times were refreshed, to see if he could continue to upgrade, and if not, he would try. As long as he had the experience of the first time, he would be familiar with it in the future. Meridian, upgrade. Gu Jin said expectantly. The command was issued, but there was no familiar energy surge. Instead, there was silence. Seeing this, Gu Jin's eyes flickered. The command he just issued was for the first limit upgrade. Since there was no response, it meant that the first limit upgrade was no longer useful for the current meridians. Calming down, Gu Jin looked at the second limit upgrade and issued a command. Meridian, upgrade. Boom. Unprecedented strong energy swept over, and the meridians broke inch by inch under the surging energy. Then, before he could come back to his senses, they were restored in an instant under the energy. The meridians became stronger and more consolidated under the transformation of energy. Even those minor meridians had become stronger and larger after so many upgrades. At this time, breaking the limit again, not to mention the 12 meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians, the minor meridians alone might be better than the 12 meridians of many people with superior cultivation talents. And the meridians became transparent like jade, flowing with a bright luster, as gorgeous as pure and flawless jade. After the upgrade was completed, Gu Jin immediately looked at the characteristics of the meridians at this time. Meridian, through +3, toughness +4, bright jade +1. Bright jade. When Gu Jin saw this feature, he thought of the appearance of the meridians now. It was indeed as bright as flowers, as transparent as jade, and flawless and magnificent. But just looking at the literal meaning of this feature, he could not understand the ability of this feature. This is the same as the Yinghua feature that appeared when the skin broke the first limit. Although he did not understand, Gu Jin was very much looking forward to its effect. This was breaking the second limit, which was definitely a powerful feature. Looking at the meridians that were as transparent as jade, since he could not see it, he would try it. Gu Jin sat cross-legged and circulated his spiritual energy. I saw the spiritual energy in my body surging out from the dantian. He now had a lot of spiritual energy, enough to rival the high-level realm of nourishing qi, and the quality was far beyond. After all, it was through the powerful characteristics of the body, mental power, golden flame, thunder, and extreme speed. Later, Gu Jin also discovered that in fact, the skin and muscles also had characteristics integrated into the spiritual energy, but it was deeper, so he did not notice it. The solid and knotty characteristics of the muscles made the spiritual power more condensed, like kneading and tightening, while the transparency and Yinghua characteristics of the skin also made the spiritual energy cleaner and more solid. If other people's spiritual energy is a ball of water that can be easily broken, then under the Yinghua characteristics, his spiritual energy becomes solid and tough. So many characteristics are integrated into it, which is unmatched by others. like the surging of rivers and streams, but the strong meridians are solid and unshakable, allowing the spiritual energy to flow freely. During the operation, Gu Jin carefully paid attention to the changes in the meridians and spiritual energy. After the spiritual energy circulated for several circles, Gu Jin opened his eyes in surprise. He knew Mingyu's characteristics. It turned out that all the characteristics that made him integrate into that touch of aura were perfectly integrated. Gu Jin didn't know how to deal with the multiple characteristics contained in the aura. He wanted to ask Mo Lao for advice, but found that Duifeng was not in the library during this period. Unexpectedly, now that the meridians broke the second limit, the Mingyu characteristics that appeared helped him solve this problem. The true qi runs in the meridians, and the characteristics are integrated into the aura. Gradually, multiple characteristics are integrated, so that the aura in Gu Jin's body can no longer feel the specific characteristics. Due to the complexity of the aura, Gu Jin has never let the spiritual energy be assimilated by the aura, and even apart from cultivation, the spiritual energy is almost not used. For example, before, only the burning breath was used to directly mobilize the golden flame of the heart. Now, various characteristics are integrated in the aura, and then quickly assimilated into the spiritual energy. The spiritual energy is assimilated, and the originally gentle and water-like spiritual energy suddenly changes. It cannot be described by a specific name. It is not thunder, not golden flame, not Yinghua, not mental power. But it has all these characteristics. Gu Jin opened his eyes, put on his coat and came to the outside of the treehouse, put away the formation talisman, and disappeared in the dark rain. Coming to a place far away from his treehouse, Gu Jin landed, circulated the spiritual energy, raised his hand, and the spiritual energy flowed out of his hand, in Gu Jin's surprised eyes. The spiritual energy tore through the rain curtain like lightning, concentrated on the huge ancient trees, and burned the rain curtain along the way, leaving a hazy trace. Boom! The ancient trees hit by the spiritual energy exploded directly, as if they were hit by thunder, and were still burning at the same time, burning in an instant and turning into ashes. From these phenomena alone, Gu Jin saw the characteristics of thunder and golden flames revealed by the spiritual energy at this time. And in his perception, he had a deeper discovery. Episode 52, Vast Dantian. Gu Jin felt that his spiritual energy was condensed and pure. Even after leaving the body of the meridians, it still had strong controllability, which was basically impossible for other practitioners in the realm of nourishing qi. Most practitioners in the realm of nourishing qi could release their spiritual energy without loosening or excessive loss in the transmission of the void, which was already very good. Gu Jin, who had strong cohesion, toughness, and destructive power, was absolutely terrifying. Before, Gu Jin's spiritual energy did not have the characteristics of integrating aura. If it was released to attack, it would be more condensed due to the tempering of various characteristics such as golden flames and thunder. But the attack power was not too outstanding. And now, the changes are earth-shaking. In this place far away from the treehouse, the huge black stones in the forest were shattered, and this area was like being plowed to one side. Ancient trees within a radius of hundreds of meters fell to the ground and burned, and the ground was charred. Gu Jin stopped until the spiritual energy was almost exhausted. Then he found that the recovery speed of spiritual energy was greatly increased during the operation. Back in the treehouse, he took off his suede robe. The surprise brought by the second limit breaking of the meridians was so great that Gu Jin couldn't wait to break the limit of the second part. He had already decided on this part, which was the brain. Breaking the first limit brought his talent to the level of amazing talent, so what about continuing to upgrade the brain to break the second limit? He was looking forward to it. After a while, Gu Jin calmed down and didn't really choose to upgrade the brain, because for him, breaking the second limit of the brain was not an urgent need. Breaking the second limit of the brain may improve his talent, speed up cultivation, etc., but before that, he has to upgrade a part first. Moreover, it's only a few days. He may be impatient now, but thinking of the long road of practitioners, a few days is just a drop in the ocean, which calmed his heart. The road is long and arduous, and I will search up and down. The road is long. Upgrade, Dantian. Then, Gu Jin chose to upgrade Dantian without hesitation. He hasn't used the first limit upgrade times today. The energy was powerful, transforming the Dantian. Gu Jin saw that his delicate Dantian was expanded under the energy transformation, like a puddle, then a well, and then a reservoir. Of course, the upgrade was completed, and seeing the changes in the Dantian space was completely earth-shaking. Dantian, Vast +1. Vastness is undoubtedly the most suitable characteristic for Gu Jin now, no matter how fast he practices, how fast his spiritual energy grows, and how strong his spiritual energy attack is. If the Dantian is still the same as before, it can't withstand more powerful spiritual energy, nor can it accommodate so much spiritual energy. If he is not careful and lets the Dantian be blown up by the spiritual energy, then Gu Jin will really explode on the spot. Now seeing the space of the dantian, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Afterwards, Gu Jin engraved 2 talismans and drew 2 talismans, and began to meditate and rest. The next day, the sky was still dark, and the heavy rain showed no sign of stopping. Today is the 5th day of the trial. After today, he can return to the gathering point and leave early tomorrow morning. Gu Jin did not choose to sit back and relax on this last day, but went out to hunt for ferocious beasts and monsters and look for elixirs and treasures. This area had been cleared, which meant that the truly valuable spiritual medicines were most likely discovered and taken away, and the remaining ones were all good things in the realm of nourishing qi. For example, the condensing veins water lotus that Gu Jin obtained might have been the best spiritual medicine that was deliberately left behind, and there was also a black phosphorus snake. He had to guess that this snake was also left behind as a test, and if he could defeat it, the water lotus would be taken away, and if no one could defeat the black phosphorus snake and take the water lotus away, perhaps when the water lotus fully blooms, a mentor will come to take it away. That's 30,000 spiritual stones, not just weeds, that can be thrown away casually. As for whether he was worried about being discovered for killing the red flame dog, Gu Jin said he didn't care at all, and he would even show his talent to the academy. Only when the talent is stronger can you get more resources from the academy. Such as the wilderness trial now, the secret realm of the Qinggu realm, etc., these are not resources that a solitary practitioner can get. What he really doesn't want to expose is the ability to upgrade. Even the mental power and flying ability that don't match the realm don't need to be hidden desperately. There are too many geniuses in this world. If he always thinks that he is against the will of heaven and wants to hide it, it would be too ridiculous, just like sitting in a well and looking at the sky. It is very likely that some people have special talents, and they can fly in the realm of nourishing qi after the integration of qi and rhyme. Or maybe someone has awakened the innate ability and directly possesses mental power, or even uses mental power to attack in the realm of nourishing qi. Even if mental power and flying ability are known to people, it can be regarded as a talent awakening. Of course, he will still keep it if it is not necessary. After all, no one will have too many trump cards. Gu Jin started to sweep from the treehouse to the surrounding area. With his current strength, even the fierce beasts with strong physical qualities could not withstand his powerful attack power, and most of them were killed in one move. Because the capacity of the ring space is limited, Gu Jin only took the valuable parts of the fierce beasts and monsters he killed. After a crazy attack, Gu Jin continued to expand the area. He met many college students on the way, but he did not have any intention of communicating and left directly. Gu Jin's robed figure passed by like a thick ink, disappearing in the rain, but suddenly, his figure came back silently, looking at a plant growing in the stone stream. The whole body is emerald green, the edges of the leaves are white, and the veins are transparent. White edge grass, after taking it, it can increase the amount of spiritual energy, and it has outstanding effects on practitioners in the realm of nourishing qi. Gu Jin happily picked the white edge grass. Compared with the tall and majestic water lotus of condensed veins, this white edge grass is more helpful to him. Putting the white edge grass into the space ring, Gu Jin turned around, with a clear and casual smile on his face, and a luster in his eyes, looking at the 3 people who were walking slowly. Bring it. The leader was a man with a frivolous smile, who came with his hands behind his back, his eyes were full of contempt, and his tone was commanding and self-evident. Gu Jin did not answer, his face under the hood was covered by darkness, only the brilliance in his eyes made the man faintly uneasy, but thinking that this was a trial for students in the realm of nourishing qi. He has 3 people on his side, and he is also a top-level qi cultivating person. He believes that he is almost invincible in the area. You really don't know what's good for you. The man smiled and shook his head like a sigh, raised his hand, and waved it down. Kill him. The tone of understatement was actually a cold killing intent. Episode 53, The Sound of Blood. Gu Jin's expression under the hood was indifferent. He had never seen such indifference that could decide the life of others in one sentence, even though he knew that the world was cruel. But today, he felt this cruelty. A white-edged grass could make people kill their classmates, and they didn't even have the patience to snatch and threaten them and spare their lives. Silently, the 2 people behind the man appeared in front of Gu Jin, punched out, shattered a piece of rain curtain, and attacked Gu Jin's head from the left and right. The attack was a ruthless and sure kill. When the 2 people started, Gu Jin's wide sleeves peeked out. The 2 people's fists shattered the rain curtain and attacked, and the green ghost tore through the air and rain, leaving a hidden trace in the night, and then Gu Jin slowly stepped and passed between the 2 people. Tick. A drop of scarlet blood mixed with rain slid down the long sword, but Gu Jin's figure disappeared like thick ink, smudged in the rain curtain. Tick. When the blood fell to the ground and splashed scarlet blood, Gu Jin had already appeared behind the leading man. The indifferent smile on the man's face froze, his eyes were filled with incredible shock, his pupils shrank, his eyeballs trembled violently, and he wanted to look behind him. But before he turned his head, a blood mark appeared on his neck, and the vitality in the man's eyes was stripped away. Bang bang! The two people who had attacked Gu Jin before fell to the ground, with the same blood mark on their necks, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Bang! The leading man also fell to the ground, and he didn't know what happened until he died. Putting away the long sword, Gu Jin's face was hidden in the shadow of the hood, and his expression at this time could not be seen. He searched the leading man and found a space ring. After the host died, the breath bound to the ring lost its source and could be easily erased, not to mention Gu Jin, who had spiritual power, erasing the breath of the chi-nourishing realm. Rebind, open the ring space, and find that this is still a rich man. 100,000 spirit stones, various resources to assist cultivation, including the Tongmai pill that Gu Jin had just searched for. Throw away all irrelevant things, such as personal belongings. During the process of clearing, Gu Jin discovered that this person was not from Modu, but from Yuhang, and his family was wealthy. No wonder he had 100,000 spirit stones with him. Then Gu Jin left and continued to hunt down fierce beasts and demons. For the first time killing, it is impossible to say that he had no feelings, but to say that he had any great feelings, he did not, and gradually, he became indifferent. Gu Jin searched for fierce beasts and demons until the early morning, and then returned to the treehouse to upgrade the Dantian. Dantian, vast, +2. If the previous Dantian was a reservoir, then the upgraded Dantian would be a lake. With such an expansion speed, the characteristics deserve to be called vast. Now Gu Jin found that his spiritual energy in the Dantian only occupied an inconspicuous small area, and the entire Dantian seemed empty. You know, before the upgrade, his spiritual energy was about to fill the Dantian. What a gap. Gu Jin couldn't help but sigh, and he understood more and more how useless his original talent was, and how far he was from the genius. After upgrading, Gu Jin did not rest or engrave the formation, but went out again to search for fierce beasts and monsters. Before leaving this time, he packed up the things in the treehouse and blocked the door of the treehouse. He didn't plan to come back again. He would search for fierce beasts and monsters tonight and go to the gathering point when the time came. All night long, Gu Jin did not stop at all, killing fierce beasts and monsters, taking away the valuable parts, and then dissipating like thick ink in the dark rain curtain. The sky was gloomy, and even when it was dawn, there was still no feeling, and it was just that the edge of the dark clouds was faintly white. After checking the time, it was almost time to go to the gathering point. When arriving at the gathering point, Gu Jin found that not many people had arrived, and among this group of people, he also found an acquaintance. Ningyu, Gu Jin said to the young man standing under the tree holding a long sword. When he heard someone calling him, Ningyu looked up and saw a tall figure, covered in a black robe. Elegant, noble, and mysterious. Even if he couldn't see his face, he still gave people a special feeling. Gu Jin? Gu Jin slightly raised the brim of his hat, and Ningyu vaguely saw his face and smiled. Recognizing Gu Jin, Ningyu didn't care about the downpour, walked out from under the tree, and walked towards Gu Jin. It can be seen that when the rain was about to fall on him, it was blocked by an invisible film. That was spiritual energy. Gu Jin could also use spiritual energy to block the rain, but with waterproof clothes, why bother so much? As the two chatted, other students came back one after another. Gradually, the place became lively and noisy, and some people boasted about how many beasts they had killed in a few days. Some people narrated their thrilling experiences with great emotion, and some proudly said that they had obtained something good. And some people may never appear here again. After waiting for a while, the plane that sent them arrived and appeared in the sky, making the already dark environment even darker. The instructors appeared at some point, and Gu Jin saw that they were converging from all directions to the center. Let's get on the plane and go back. Suing said lightly. Yes. Everyone nodded, jumped into the air onto the ancient tree that was tens of meters high, and then tapped the branches at the top of the tree, flew across the sky, and entered the plane through the open passage. When Gu Jin set off, he saw several students from a class not far away, surrounding their instructors. Teacher, the people are not all here yet, aren't you waiting for them? I can't wait any longer. The teacher said in a complicated tone and floated away. When Gu Jin saw the direction in which all the instructors returned, he knew that during these 5 days, the instructors of each class had been guarding the boundaries of the trial range to prevent high-level beasts and demons from entering the trial area. When students are in danger, the instructor will also take action, but there will always be mistakes within a radius of 10 kilometers. When the instructors gathered, they had already explored all areas. Those who should come back have gathered, and those who have not gathered can't come back. After entering the plane, Gu Jin found a window seat. Ningyu met Gu Jin and sat down next to him. What did you gain from this trial? Ningyu asked, and then smiled. I will break through Chingu after I go back. I'm waiting for you to reach the Chingu realm. At that time, we will have a match. The winner will definitely be me. Ningyu's words were full of fighting spirit. Gu Jin smiled and shrugged, looking out the window. The sky in the distance was dark, the clouds were thick, and the Shishan mountain across the sky looked even more terrifying. After returning to the academy, everyone got off the plane and handed the certificates of the beasts and monsters they hunted to their respective instructors for review. When Suing saw Gu Jin's astonishing number, he looked at him in surprise. He heard from other instructors that there was a student who chased beasts and monsters to kill. It seems that this is his own student. The rewards were then handed out, and everyone dispersed after the old man announced the disbandment. Episode 54, Amazing Income. Among the crowd, someone looked at Gu Jin's back as he left, his eyes revealing a sinister cruelty. This person was Lu Yu. He had long known that Gu Jin had broken through to the realm of nourishing qi. During this wilderness trial, he even thought of gathering other people to surround and kill Gu Jin in the wilderness. Unfortunately, the 6 days of the wilderness trial were rainy and the environmental conditions were extremely poor. They had to survive carefully, so how could they have the extra energy to look for Gu Jin's traces in the endless ancient forest? However, Lu Yu, who missed this opportunity, did not feel any regret. He was an extremely cautious person. When Gu Jin defeated him at the second level of body refining, he knew that Gu Jin's strength could not be judged by realm alone. Now that the other party has entered the realm of nourishing qi, even if he gathered 3 top-level practitioners of nourishing qi, he might not be able to kill Gu Jin without fail. His real killer move was to stay in the secret realm that would be opened later. In order to invite a top genius in the Chingu realm, he spent a lot of money. With the top cultivation talent and strength of the person who entered the Chingu realm before the age of 20, it will definitely be foolproof. During this period of time, he has been speculating that Gu Jin may be a top genius, but even so what? If the top genius in the Chingu realm takes action against the top genius in the Yangqi realm, Gu Jin will never survive. Cherish the remaining days. Do you think the secret realm is the opportunity you are fighting for? No, it is the burial place you have been begging for. Lu Yu watched Gu Jin disappear in the rain, gnashing his teeth, with a gleam in his eyes. Gu Jin left the academy and took the train. Although the weather was dim, it was not yet noon. He got off at a stop halfway, put on the hood of his robe, and stepped into the rain. He wanted to give the talismans he had accumulated in the past few days to Chen Geng. These days, he was very lucky. None of the talismans he made were consumed, which could bring him huge profits. There are 30 talismans in total, and 30 talisman engravings. This number of talismans and talisman engravings is more than many small shops can get. Come to the ancient artifact pavilion. Bored Chen Geng is making tea, looking at the heavy rain outside, with expectation in his eyes. He knows that Mr. Gu has been out for trials with the academy these days, and today is the day when he will come back. Chen Geng is looking forward to whether he will come. There have been no talismans and talisman engravings for a few days. Many customers have come to inquire about them these days. Most of them are regular customers who have purchased them, and some are recommended by other customers. Even many people have begun to inquire about who provided him with the talismans and talismans. In fact, since he started to help Gu Jin sell, many people have inquired about him, but he has always kept it a secret and has not revealed any information about Gu Jin's identity. Some people even gave him an astonishing price and asked him to tell them, but Chen Geng still did not agree. Although the spiritual stones are very tempting, Chen Geng has his own principles. He remembered very well what his grandfather said when he left the ancient artifact pavilion to him. It is natural for merchants to pursue profits, but it is their nature to keep their promises and abide by the rules. Moreover, Chen Geng was extremely grateful since Gu Jin started to buy all his ancient artifacts and then consigned the talismans and talismans to him. He was a small ordinary person and was completely useless to others. The other party could just hand over the talismans and talismans to major stores, and the channels would be more stable. But Gu Jin gave it to him and gave him a reward, so he naturally had to keep his promise. Suddenly, a figure in a black robe walked in from the rain. Seeing the face with the hood removed, Chen Geng immediately put down the teacup, rubbed his hands, and greeted him with a bright smile. "Hey, Mr. Gu, you are finally back. Come on, sit down and have a cup of tea to warm yourself up." Chen Geng asked Gu Jin to sit down in a flattering manner, brewed a pot of tea again and handed it to him, and then looked at him expectantly. Gu Jin held the teacup and looked at him with amusement. "How is business in recent days?" Chen Geng's face suddenly became bitter. "Alas, Mr. Gu, your talismans have been sold out a long time ago. Without talismans, no one will come to my empty shop." Gu Jin smiled and shook his head, without saying anything, and took out talismans from the space ring. Seeing a pile of crystal-clear talismans and a small stack of talismans in front of him, Chen Geng opened his eyes wide, looked at Gu Jin in disbelief, and opened his mouth in silence. You recognize these two, the maze array talisman and the fire array talisman, and continue to charge the old price. Gu Jin pushed forward 30 talismans and 10 maze array talismans. Chen Geng came back to his senses, his eyes shining, and nodded repeatedly. This is the blazing red lotus array talisman. Gu Jin picked up a crystal talisman with a red glow. The price is 2,500 spirit stones, you can add your share yourself. Yes, yes. Chen Geng nodded, and he would add his own share, which means that the price would be 10 spirit stones more than what Gu Jin offered. Of course, he could add more, and it would still be lower than the market price, but he understood. Merchants can be greedy, but they cannot be greedy. This is the tearing hurricane array talisman, the price is 2,500 spirit stones, and you can add your share yourself. The tearing hurricane array talisman flows with green light. When Gu Jin came, he looked up the prices of the blazing red lotus formation talisman and the tearing wind formation talisman. They were both sold at a price of about 100 spirit stones. This batch of talismans and talismans can probably bring him nearly 67,000 primary spirit stones. It's a huge profit. Chen Geng happily collected the talismans and respectfully sent Gu Jin away. Although the location of the ancient artifact pavilion is relatively remote and not the core area of the magic city, it is far better than the Linjiang district where Gu Jin lives. There are beautiful greenery here, with large areas of vegetation, parks, hills, lakes, and many residential areas built here. It is a gathering area for the middle class. Therefore, it is not surprising that there are real estate companies and insurance companies on both sides of the ancient artifact pavilion. Walking in the heavy rain, the suede robe blocks the rain, making him look like a blurred ink color in the rain curtain. The environment here is very leisurely, and the fierce aura that Gu Jin brought with him after returning from the wilderness also dissipated and was washed away by the rain. He was familiar with this place, and he would pass by it every day when he came to deliver talismans and engravings, but he didn't know when a new shop opened next to a park. Judging from the sign, it should be a coffee shop. Now it was raining heavily, and Gu Jin was the only one on the street. The coffee shop was a 2-story wooden building, and the glass windows showed a slightly drunken light, which was beautiful and peaceful. At the door, there was a figure busy moving something in the heavy rain. It was an unusually beautiful figure, like a disaster that could bring disaster to a city. Episode 55, The Beauty of Misfortune. The woman's face was like the most perfect work of God. She wore a pure white shirt and a short skirt, and dressed neatly and professionally. At this time, she was carrying things from the car to the cafe in the heavy rain. Her shirt was soaked, outlining her exaggerated and perfect figure. Her wavy long hair was stuck to her face, and she ran barefoot on the wooden stairwell. Gu Jin could see at a glance that this amazingly beautiful woman had no aura fluctuations on her body. She was obviously an ordinary person who had not even entered the realm of body refining. Such pure ordinary people are rare in the world, not to mention the magic city. For example, Chen Geng also practiced body refining methods, but his strength was poor, only a few hundred kilograms of strength. But this woman was completely weak like an ordinary person in the previous life without spiritual energy. Stop, walk forward, and take over the box she had moved with difficulty. It was only more than 40 kilograms, but the woman had great difficulty moving it. The woman looked at Gu Jin, who appeared beside her in surprise, and let Gu Jin see her appearance up close, with perfect facial features and translucent skin, especially in the rain. Her eyes were as hazy as the moonlight in the south of the Yangtze River, seemingly changing and breathtakingly beautiful. She was tall, even barefoot, she was over 1.7 meters tall. Let me help you, which ones need to be moved in? Gu Jin's face was shrouded in the shadow of the hood, revealing an elegant and charming mystery, but to be honest, it also made people feel daunted. The woman instinctively took a step back when she saw him, and when she heard the words, she came back to her senses and smiled and pointed at the boxes in the trunk. Gu Jin brushed his hand over, put the box into the space ring, then stepped onto the wooden ladder, walked into the coffee shop, and took the box out of the ring. The woman followed him and picked up a pair of high heels under the eaves. Thank you. Her voice was magnetic and elegant, and she gathered her dripping hair, and every move revealed a gentle and intellectual charm. It's just a small favor. Sit down first, I'll clean up. The woman asked Gu Jin to sit down, and then went into the back room. At a close distance, Gu Jin could vaguely see the purple marks under her shirt. Pulling down the hood, Gu Jin looked at the environment of the coffee shop, a 2-story wooden building, a large area of floor-to-ceiling glass, and dim and tipsy lights. In addition, it was pouring rain outside, and looking at the watermarks flowing on the glass gave people a warm and lazy feeling. After a while, Gu Jin heard footsteps and the woman came out. She changed into a black lady's long skirt, which made her skin white and slender. The high heels made her look taller, with wavy long hair and amber-colored glass eyes. She had a slender neck and delicate collarbones, and wore a necklace with a transparent black gem on the pendant. She was charming and enchanting, but elegant and intellectual. "Thank you for your help just now, otherwise I don't know when I would move." The woman smiled sweetly, her eyes moved, and she was charming and seductive for a moment, like the hazy moonlight. "My name is GCC. The woman introduced herself. "Gu Jin." Gu Jin chuckled. The woman was very beautiful, so beautiful that it was difficult for him to describe it in words. "Oh, you see, I forgot." Suddenly, GCC patted her forehead, walked to the bar, and moved her eyes to Gu Jin. "What do you want to drink?" "Tea." After a while, GCC handed a cup of black tea to Gu Jin. Gu Jin took it with a smile and took a sip. After a brief conversation, Gu Jin knew that this was a new coffee shop that was originally planned to open recently, but the heavy rain caused it to be postponed. GCC is an ordinary yet extraordinary woman, in her 20s, with an ordinary background, unable to practice, but with a beauty that no man in the world can resist. Fortunately, in the Magic City, the strict rules allow her to live a stable life, otherwise, she might have become a private collection of some rich kid. After saving some money for a few years, she opened a coffee shop by herself. Of course, there is never a lack of suitors around her, and even if Gu Jin pays a little attention to gossip, he will have heard of her name. Gu Jin looked at the woman in front of him, with impeccable appearance and figure, charming and elegant, and gentle as water in conversation. She is indeed a disaster. Alas, I don't know how long this rain will last. GCC held her face, her long wavy hair fell, looking at the dark sky outside the window. "Actually, I like rain." Gu Jin smiled and leaned back in a chair. GCC raised her eyes slightly. She rarely saw such a casual feeling in a man, which made her look sideways. In terms of appearance and demeanor alone, Gu Jin is the most outstanding person she has ever seen. After sitting in the coffee shop for a while, the two added contact information, and Gu Jin said goodbye and left. "Remember to notify me on the opening day." Gu Jin smiled as he stood at the door. "Definitely." GCC stroked her long hair, leaned against the door frame with her arms folded, and her lazy posture was extremely seductive. Gu Jin couldn't help but take a serious look. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, nodded, put on his hood, and walked into the rain. Watching Gu Jin's figure disappear behind the dark rain, GCC returned to the coffee shop, and her lips couldn't help but draw a light arc. He is an interesting person. Back home, Gu Jin lay on the sofa and suddenly felt relaxed. The next 2 days, the academy was on holiday. Gu Jin made talismans on weekdays, upgraded his dantian in the early morning, and said hello when he passed by GCC's coffee shop when he sent the talismans to the ancient artifact pavilion the next day. Late at night, there was a crackling sound of raindrops outside the house. Gu Jin opened his eyes and gave the order after seeing the upgrade number restored. His dantian had been upgraded to the current extreme last night. Dantian, vast, +3. Tonight, the first limit of dantian can be broken. Dantian, upgrade. Gu Jin felt as if there was a lava pouring into dantian, wrapping the entire dantian, melting it, and making dantian stained with the lava-like breath. When the upgrade was completed, Gu Jin immediately looked at the state of dantian at this time. Dantian, vast, +3, furnace, +1. Furnace. Seeing this attribute, Gu Jin was slightly surprised. After running the spiritual energy to sense it, he knew the ability of this characteristic. At this time, his dantian was like a hot furnace. The spiritual energy was melted and forged in the dantian, becoming purer and more condensed, and the various characteristics were more perfectly integrated. Undoubtedly, it is just a characteristic that is extremely suitable for dantian. This can make the quality of his spiritual energy far exceed that of other practitioners. Now, the dantian with the characteristics of a furnace, plus the meridians with the characteristics of Mingyu, has a very strong effect on the fusion and tempering of his spiritual energy. It is estimated that even if the practitioners in the Qinggu realm practice various techniques, they cannot compare to the effect of him relying purely on himself. Perhaps only some extremely profound techniques can achieve this effect? Episode 56, Spiritual Transformation. The next day, the golden light permeated the sky and clouds. The heavy rain that had been falling for many days finally stopped and the sky cleared up. After Gu Jin finished his training, he began to make talismans. Until noon, plus the efforts of last night, he could make a total of 5 talismans. Now he did not make the maze array talisman anymore, because the price of the blazing red lotus array talisman and the tearing wind array talisman was higher. Of course, he also told Qinggung that if there were customers who wanted to buy the maze array talisman, they could make a reservation and come back to pick it up the next day. After handing the talismans to Qinggung, Gu Jin strolled to the park. At this time, many people were walking and feeling the sunshine that they had not seen for many days. GCC's coffee shop opened today. He received a notice from the other party yesterday, so he came to take a look. Surprisingly but naturally, the coffee shop business is very hot. Surprisingly, of course, there are rarely queues in the coffee shop, because most of the customers who come are looking for a comfortable and quiet environment. Of course, it is because of a beautiful woman like GCC that many people can come. Gu Jin even saw many luxury cars lined up. Seeing him, GCC came out to greet him. Looking at the coffee shop full of people, she said helplessly, "Sorry, it's a bit messy today." "It's okay. I came here to celebrate. Seeing that your business is so good, I can't wait to be happy for you." Gu Jin smiled faintly and shrugged. GCC dressed intellectually and capable today, with a white shirt, a black skirt, high heels, and an apron with a cute kitten and the logo of the coffee shop on it. Seeing GCC and a strange man laughing and talking, many people cast scrutinizing eyes, especially noticing Gu Jin's outstanding appearance and demeanor. Many people showed hostility in their eyes. "It seems that I have caused you a lot of resentment." GCC looked back and apologized. Gu Jin shook his head indifferently, and suddenly smiled. "Of course, it would be better if you can treat me to a meal." GCC raised her eyes and glanced at him sideways, charming and seductive, but still agreed. He didn't stay here for long. After a few jokes, Gu Jin left. At night, putting down the engraved talisman in his hand, Gu Jin meditated to restore his mental power that was almost exhausted. When his mental power recovered, the time just crossed the early morning, and the number of upgrades was restored. After the Dantian broke the first limit, Gu Jin changed the upgrade object again. Tonight he planned to upgrade the brain. He planned to upgrade the brain to break the second limit in the next period of time. He was looking forward to what characteristics would appear at that time. Upgrade, brain. The familiar energy swept through the brain. Under the transformation of energy, his thinking became more active, and his mental power kept rippling. The upgrade process was very fast. The energy was absorbed by the brain, and Gu Jin opened his eyes. At the first time, he felt the change in mental power, which was much stronger than before the upgrade. Look at the situation of the brain. Brain, clarity, +3, quick thinking, +2. Expected changes. Then, the mental power spread out, and the surrounding situation was clearly imprinted in the mind. Originally, the mental power could only sense a radius of 10 meters, but it broke through very easily. 11 meters. 12 meters. 20 meters. Finally, at 20 meters, the perception reached its limit, but this was enough to surprise Gu Jin. After upgrading once, the perception distance and mental power doubled. Not only would the scope of future reconnaissance and vigilance be larger, but more importantly, the current mental power could support him in making more talismans and talismans. Theoretically, his current mental power could allow him to engrave 2 talismans and draw 2 talismans at a time. The efficiency doubled. This also means that the daily income would double in the future. After mastering the changes in the brain upgrade, Gu Jin took out the spirit stone and began to engrave talismans. Blazing red lotus array talisman, tearing wind array talisman, and 2 flame fire array talismans. After making them, Gu Jin found that he still had room for mental power, and analyzed it based on the situation of making array talismans and talismans during this period. The remaining mental power was enough for him to draw a flame fire array talisman. But by then, the mental power would be truly exhausted. Gu Jin, who didn't want to push himself too far, began to recover his mental power. What he wanted to try now was whether the recovery time would also become longer after his mental power was enhanced. Less than 2 hours later, Gu Jin opened his eyes and showed a look of joy. The time it took him to recover all his mental power not only did not increase, but it actually decreased. Although the decrease was not much, less than 10 minutes. But it was enough to surprise Gu Jin. Next, Gu Jin was full of motivation and began to make talismans and talismans. When his mental power reached the bottom, he began to recover, and continued after recovery. Finally, the next morning, after recovering his mental power again, Gu Jin finally stopped and did not continue to make array talismans and talismans. Because the holiday was over today, he had to go to school. The efforts of the night were not in vain. The increase in mental power and the shortened recovery time greatly increased his efficiency. 3 blazing red lotus array talismans, 3 tearing wind array talismans, and 6 flame array talismans. This was his result last night, and the harvest was amazing. In addition, the 4 talismans and 4 talismans made from yesterday afternoon to early morning. Now his daily income will be greatly increased. Before going to school, when Gu Jin handed the talisman to Chen Geng, the other party was a little surprised that the amount today suddenly increased, but he did not ask much. He would sell more if the other party gave more. If the other party did not give, he would not complain. When passing by the coffee shop, GCC handed him a cup of milk and cake. Sister treats you, study hard. Seeing GCC's gentle smile and beautiful eyes, Gu Jin shook his head and took it with a smile. Thank you. Gu Jin came to the pavilion in the lake and immediately attracted everyone's attention. Normally, they would look away immediately, fearing that Gu Jin would be unhappy. But today, everyone stared at him abnormally, which made Gu Jin puzzled. Gu Jin, holding a straw, looked at everyone puzzledly and found that they were staring at the milk and cake in his hand. Gu Jin was stunned for a moment, then raised the cake. Do you want to eat it? His words brought everyone back to their senses. This was the first time that Gu Jin took the initiative to talk to them since the competition with Yuan Yi, and asked them if they wanted to eat the cake, which made the students who had been afraid of him recently suddenly think strangely. Gu Jin seemed to be easy to get along with, right? Suddenly, someone boldly tried to ask. Did you go to GCC store too? Episode 57, The Second Limit of the Brain. Gu Jin looked at the cake in his hand, took a sip of milk, nodded and said, I just happened to pass by, and the other party gave it to me. He didn't expect GCC's shop to be so famous. It seems that all his classmates know it. Hearing his words, everyone showed a surprised expression that Gu Jin couldn't understand, shook their heads, sat down at their seats, looked at the lake and mountains, and ate breakfast leisurely. But when he didn't know, a piece of news came out, and then quickly caused turmoil in the Magic City Training Academy. Gu Jin and GCC's relationship is unclear. This gossip caused everyone to talk about it. Although the Magic City Training Academy can be said that it is a gathering place for geniuses, but they are all young people with strong curiosity, and they immediately started to discuss noisily. Gu Jin, do you know GCC? Are you on good terms? Even Ningyu sent a message to ask. After returning from the wilderness trial, Ningyu successfully challenged the Qinggu realm, and then passed the assessment and entered the genius class of the Qinggu realm. Gu Jin replied with 2 question marks, and had no idea why he asked this. After class, Gu Jin was about to go home, but saw Ningyu holding a knife. Seeing him, Ningyu immediately walked up to him, looked at him strangely, stared at his face, and suddenly nodding. Gu Jin was confused. This rare acquaintance in the academy was always gentle and calm, why was he so strange today? You still don't know what's going on? Noticing Gu Jin's expression, Ningyu asked, then took out his spiritual brain and opened it, and Gu Jin understood what happened. He didn't expect that although GCC was an ordinary person, in the eyes of practitioners, she was no different from an ant. But GCC was very famous in the Magic City with her disaster-like face, and few people had not heard of her reputation. It was because Gu Jin had been immersed in hard practice before, and there were many posts on the Academy forum discussing his waste material, so he didn't see it. Seeing is pure, so I don't know about it. It is said that even a genius or a demon has pursued her, but was still politely rejected. That's someone that even geniuses and demons rejected. You won't succeed, right? Ningyu looked at Gu Jin and said in disbelief. Gu Jin laughed and rolled his eyes. Do you believe the gossip on the forum? He just saw that there were various statements on the forum that he and GCC were already together. Did she give you breakfast? Ningyu asked. Gu Jin nodded. Tisk, that's a treatment that even geniuses and demons don't have. Gu Jin's head was full of black lines, and he no longer paid attention to the guy who kept calling him a genius and monster, and walked forward. Genius monster. At the same time, he couldn't help but murmur these 4 words in his heart. No matter where, these 4 words represent an extremely heavy weight, which is an existence that may not appear in 100 million people. It is a talent above amazing talent, which Gu Jin cannot reach now. But he didn't seem discouraged. With the ability to upgrade, his upper limit cannot be measured by the current sight. Although the talent of a genius and monster is terrifying, it may be the limit. But Gu Jin can't see his own limit. This is the basis of his confidence. Ningyu gossiped for a while and then said goodbye to him. He has been under a lot of pressure recently. When he was in the Yangqi realm, he was the top existence with the talent of speed. But when he reached the Qinggu realm, he found that he was no longer the most dazzling, and was surpassed by the top genius who was more powerful and outstanding than him. After leaving the academy, Gu Jin thought about it in front of the ancient and majestic gate, and decided to go home directly. He originally planned to go to GCC's place to sit, but when he thought of the lively environment of the coffee shop, he gave up the idea. In the next few days, Gu Jin's life was very regular. Every day, he got up and went to the ancient artifact pavilion to put down the talismans, and then took GCC's breakfast to the academy. After class, he went home to engrave talismans and draw talismans. After the upgrade times were restored late at night, he upgraded his brain. In a few days, his brain was constantly upgraded. In addition to the increase in mental power, all the abilities of his brain changed, which meant that his comprehensive talent was constantly transforming. Brain, clarity +3, quick thinking +3, mental perception, 30 meters. Quick thinking +4, mental perception 40 meters. Quick thinking +5, mental perception, 50 meters. Quick thinking +6, mental perception, 60 meters. Finally, tonight, his brain has just been upgraded and reached its current limit, and mental perception covers an area of 6,000. His mental power was enough for him to engrave 6 talismans at a time, and there was still enough power to spare. 0 asking for flowers. His overall talent had also reached the limit of the amazing talent level, crushing all the amazing talents, but he was only a hair's breadth away from being a genius. But now, he would break this limit. After breaking through the chi-nourishing realm, he would have a second limit upgrade once a week, that is, 5 days, and it could be accumulated. Since the breakthrough, in addition to the meridian breaking the second limit once, it has accumulated 4 times so far. So, he can upgrade his brain now. Brain, upgrade. Boom. A huge buzzing sound exploded in his mind, making Gu Jin's brain dazed, and his thinking stagnated for a moment. Then a huge amount of energy swept and whistled, and the shackles that restricted the brain's current limit gradually cracked under the ravages of energy, and finally were completely shattered. The brain also broke the second limit and reached a new realm. All abilities were improving, and the mental power was unprecedentedly active, spreading out, and easily broke through the limit of 60 meters in radius. 70 meters. 80 meters. 90 meters. Finally, it reached the limit when it reached 100 meters. After the upgrade, Gu Jin felt that his brain had a more terrifying thinking ability and a powerful mental power. Now his comprehensive talent should have stepped into the heaven and earth, right? This is a very terrifying thing. It is rare to have a genius talent in cultivation, but it exists. The genius talent in formation, swordsmanship, and alchemy. These are also rare, but they still exist. But how terrifying is it to have a person who can coexist at the same time and have various genius talents? Now, no matter whether Gu Jin wants to try formation, cultivation, swordsmanship, etc., he has a genius talent. Calming down his mind, Gu Jin looked at the situation of his brain at this time. Brain, clear +3, quick thinking +6, spiritual enlightenment +1. Spiritual enlightenment, a new feature of the brain that breaks the second limit. Afterwards, it is estimated that after practicing for a while, he felt the speed of practice that far exceeded the previous one, and finally understood why this level of talent is called a genius. Episode 58, Heading to the Secret Realm. The next day, after Gu Jin finished his morning practice, he went to the academy. Today was the day when the Chingu Realm Secret Realm was opened, and it was also the time for him to enter the Secret Realm. After his brain broke the limit last night, he could now make 10 talismans and 10 talismans at a time, and his mental power was still full. If he wanted, he could engrave another talisman, but his mental power would reach the limit, so Gu Jin did not force it. In addition to the greatly increased production efficiency, the recovery speed also became faster. Now he can recover all his mental power in 1 hour. Arriving at the ancient artifact pavilion, Jin Geng was shocked to see a large number of talismans. Recently, the number provided by Gu Jin has been increasing every day. Today, he even took out 100 talismans at once. This astonishing number also represents a terrible wealth. Because Gu Jin's 687 talismans are all used to make the blazing red lotus formation and the tearing wind formation. So just 100 talismans alone are an income of 250,000 spirit stones. With Gu Jin's current ability to make money, the top spirit sword that he used to be afraid of hanging on the homepage of the store's official website is worth 250,000 spirit stones. It only takes about a month to buy a long sword. Now, he can be called rich. When leaving the ancient artifact pavilion under Jin Geng's admiring eyes and coming to the coffee shop, GCC has already gotten used to Gu Jin's time and has prepared breakfast. Originally, when GCC prepared breakfast for him for the first time, Gu Jin thought that the other party was fulfilling her promise to treat him to a meal, but unexpectedly, the other party prepared breakfast for him every day afterwards. After spending this period of time together, the relationship between the two has become familiar, and he is gradually getting used to it now. Sister Cece, you don't have to prepare breakfast for me tomorrow. Gu Jin took it with a smile. Why? GCC raised her eyebrows when she heard the words, and looked at him with eyes that seemed to be covered with mist. In the sun, the pupils were amber like glass. I'm going to the secret realm today. Gu Jin was holding a milk straw in his mouth. Hearing his answer, GCC smiled sweetly, and looked at him with slightly narrowed eyes, and said with a smile, you mean it? Gu Jin smiled and waved his hand, just a joke. Which man can refuse a woman like you, Sister Cece, to prepare breakfast every day? GCC rolled his eyes at him. When will you come back? 1 month. Be careful. GCC's magnetic and elegant voice showed concern. Gu Jin waved his hand and left. When they came to the pavilion in the lake, everyone was used to seeing him holding a milk straw in his mouth. It was originally a gossip rumor, but now it is gradually confirmed, but no one of GCC's suitors came to trouble him, because there are always few brain-dead people. Among outstanding people, brain-dead people are even rarer. At the same time, it is difficult for brain-dead people to become outstanding people, even if they want to cause trouble, they dare not. The bell rang, and Suing appeared, but he did not start the lecture, and said, "Those who have obtained the qualification to enter the secret realm, follow me." Gu Jin stood up after hearing this. In addition to him, there were Chen Rui and a thin man in the class. This man was also in the circle of Chen Rui and others. He was one of the 5 people in the class who were at the top level of Qi cultivation. As for the other 3 top-level Qi cultivating masters and Yuan Yi, unfortunately, they encountered top-level Qi cultivating masters in 2 out of 3 rounds of the assessment. Yuan Yi even encountered top-level Qi cultivating masters in all 3 rounds. As a result, his points were squeezed down. Suing asked the remaining students to wait for a while, and took Gu Jin and the other 2 away. In the wide square, not far away was a mountain that reached the clouds. The mountain was so steep that it looked like a long sword breaking through the air. After Suing arrived with Gu Jin and the others, they left. There were many people waiting in the square, clearly divided into 2 sides. On one side are 30 practitioners in the Yangqi realm, including Gu Jin, and on the other are several hundred practitioners in the Qinggu realm. Next, they will enter a secret realm that can only be entered by those at the Qinggu realm or below. The person leading Gu Jin and the others is a simple and honest middle-aged man, who warns them very carefully that this is a secret realm for exploration at the Qinggu realm level, and that they should not act rashly out of curiosity after entering. It is best to find a place after entering and practice honestly until the time to leave the secret realm, otherwise there is no shortage of intermediate-level beasts and demons in the secret realm, and encountering them will only cost you your life. Also, remember the rules I told you before, you must never take out the spiritual medicine in the secret realm. After leaving the secret realm, someone will check you. The spiritual medicine in the secret realm has a special aura, even if it is separated by space equipment, it cannot be hidden. 0. If anyone is found hiding it, he will be punished by the Academy. In serious cases, the Academy will prohibit him from entering any secret ruins in the future. The students nodded repeatedly after hearing this. These were told to them when they passed the assessment before. Now the instructor is worried and reiterated it again. This secret realm was originally opened only to the Qinggu Realm Academy, and even in the Qinggu Realm, the number of people entering is limited, because there is a spiritual medicine in it that can enhance mental power. It is of great help to the practitioners in the Qinggu Realm. But in order to ensure the sustainable regeneration of this spiritual medicine, the number of people entering each secret realm will be limited, and no matter who it is, they cannot take the spiritual medicine out. Even students in the Qinggu realm can only take the spiritual medicine in the secret realm after picking it, and cannot take it out. And there is a limit on how many people can take the spiritual medicine, and it will be ineffective when reaching a certain number. As for the practitioners in the Yangqi realm, without mental power, it is useless to take the spiritual medicine, and it may even cause damage. So, the Academy just prohibits them from taking it out to make a profit. But other practitioners in the Yangqi realm cannot take it, but it does not mean that Gu Jin cannot. He has spiritual power. This is also the reason why Gu Jin decided to enter immediately after hearing the introduction of the secret realm. The students in the Qinggu realm seemed to have listened to the instructor's instructions and began to walk towards them. Compared with the students in the Yangqi realm, the average age of the students in the Qinggu realm is relatively old, mostly around 20 years old. Of course, there are also very young ones. He saw a teenager of 16 or 17 years old. At this age, reaching the Qinggu realm, the talent is at least the top genius level. The students in the Qinggu realm looked at Gu Jin and others unscrupulously, with a kind of high-handed pride. In the gaze of hundreds of practitioners in the Qinggu realm, even a proud person like Chen Rui seemed restrained. Only Gu Jin cast a look of scrutiny, and looked at him calmly with his deep eyes. Let's go. The instructor who led the team this time looked very young, with long hair and Confucian robes, exuding the elegance of a modest gentleman. Episode 59, World and Ruins. The secret realm is another plane separated from the Earth's space. It may be an independent small space, or perhaps another world like the Earth's universe. A powerful practitioner opens the space crack and enters across the void. The secret realm that Gu Jin and others entered this time was discovered more than 2,000 years ago. At that time, the spiritual energy had just revived and the space cracks were everywhere. Unfortunately, one of them happened to appear in the Magic City. At that time, the practitioners had not yet appeared. The strong among humans were all awakened people who explored their talents. Facing the space cracks that suddenly appeared in the Magic City, it is conceivable how huge the losses were. That night, the Magic City was filled with ghost fog, and hundreds of ghosts were walking at night. Huangfu River was infected by the ghost energy gushing out of the cracks, turning into a surging ghost river, and the roars of countless ghosts enveloped the Magic City. Ordinary firearms have no harm to ghosts at all. They can only be filled with the lives of awakened people. Finally, with the sacrifice of countless awakened people, the space cracks were finally controlled. In the years that followed, practitioners appeared, the way of practice became popular, and strong people emerged like mushrooms after rain. Then a great man took action to close the space channel and could control its switch at will 10. Then, this great man established an academy at the location of the space crack, which is now the Magic City Practice Academy. That great man is the dean of the academy, Tianchi, Ling Yandao. Under the leadership of the elegant young man, Gu Jin and others bypassed the dangerous peaks into the clouds, came to the back mountain, entered a valley with a downward terrain, and finally stopped in front of a standing stone tablet. The stone tablet is dozens of meters high, revealing traces of ancient times, and engraved with dense names. The Monument of Heroic Souls. After the space crack was closed, a stone tablet stood here, engraved with the names of countless heroic souls who died guarding the passage. The majestic stone tablet with dozens of meters of small words like flies is full of countless lives. Later, as humans gradually became stronger, the world behind the space cracks became like a back garden for humans, and it became a secret realm for practitioners in the Qinggu realm to explore. First, to train students, and second, it was also retribution. This time, killing ghosts in the secret realm can also get different rewards according to the number of ghosts. Gu Jin couldn't help but think of the rewards for the previous wilderness survival trial. He submitted a lot of certificates, but the rewards for others were issued, but he was the best first place. The reward has not been seen yet. The instructor said that in view of his outstanding performance, the reward was a little special, and someone would give it to him specifically, but after waiting for a few days, there was no sign of this person. The young man stood in front of the monument of heroic spirits, put away his gentle smile, bowed solemnly and respectfully, and then led everyone over the monument to the cliff. This is the end of the canyon. The ground on both sides are dark stones. The stones on the cliff in front of him are even darker, as if the light was swallowed up, which makes people feel chilled. Gu Jin looked up and saw that the cliff was getting darker and darker, and finally it was as if it was shrouded in black fog and he could not see what was going on. Buzz. A huge energy wave spread out, powerful but gentle as water, emitting pure white light. The young man in the Confucian robe made a mysterious hand seal in his hand, emitting a brilliant white light, which broke through the darkness in front of him. Then, everyone was surprised to see that the white light spread like branches. Gradually, white cracks appeared all over the void. Kaka. A sound like glass shattering sounded, and the white cracks tore open, slowly forming a stable and wide crack in the void. The cracks spread from the void in a zigzag manner and finally fell to the ground, like a mysterious door leading to the unknown. Go in. The young man's gentle voice reached everyone's ears, and all the students stepped into the space crack without hesitation. Gu Jin and others lined up behind the students in the Qinggu realm. Before they were about to enter, the honest middle-aged instructor hesitated and said, after entering, hurry up to practice. If you can break through to the Qinggu realm again during this period, you can also take spiritual medicine. This is a secret reward for the top students of Qi cultivation, but he couldn't help but remind it. It can be seen that this instructor cares about his students very much. Many students who were preparing to use the secret realm to impact the Qinggu realm had their eyes brightened upon hearing this, revealing an expression of expectation and surprise. Huh. Looking at the dark space in front of him, blowing the gloomy wind, and the space crack leading to an unknown place, Gu Jin stepped in. A severe dizziness came, even his strong sense of balance and coordination now lost his direction, and his eyes were dark. When he saw things again, he had appeared in a new world. The gloomy sky, the thick dark clouds, swept by the wind, changed like the hideous faces of ghosts, giving people a sense of oppression. The spiritual energy around was extremely rich, several times that of the outside world. The sand, soil, and stones on the ground were all black, desolate, and vast. Now Gu Jin was on a small hillside, where no grass grew, and the so-called spiritual medicine was nowhere to be seen. There were only black rugged stones. It seemed that the direction of the space crack was random, and there was no one around Gu Jin. Looking far away, Gu Jin was surprised to see the ruins of the city stretching in the distance. The steel building, the broken glass on it, the peeling walls, the cracked roads, rusty cars leaning against the basket. It looks like the Wasteland 220 world. Isn't this a ghost world? How can there be city ruins? Gu Jin asked, curiously. When they entered the secret realm, they only roughly understood the origin of the secret realm, that it was a world of ghosts, but they were ignorant of the specific situation. I didn't expect that this ghost world was not like the underworld, but there was a city ruin. He will stay in the secret realm for a month. Now the first thing is to find a place to stay. The city ruins are a good choice. The figure flew through the air. With the recent practice, his speed has increased a few points. The pure physical speed has exceeded 6 times the speed of sound. At this speed, even if the city ruins seem far away, in a few tens of seconds, Gu Jin has crossed nearly 100 kilometers and arrived at the edge of the ruins. The gloomy wind swept the paper scraps on the ground, broken cars were everywhere, and the tall buildings were in ruins. Many buildings exposed their steel skeletons, and the concrete bottom was broken, full of deep gullies. The spiritual energy is even richer. After entering the city, Gu Jin found that the spiritual energy was even more dense than outside the city. The surroundings were very quiet, no ghosts were seen, only the cold wind blowing like ghosts and monsters screaming. The secret world was dark, and it was impossible to tell the time. Gu Jin found a relatively well-preserved building as a temporary place to stay. Episode 60. Come on, come on, come on. Gu Jin was looking for an office building that was relatively well-preserved. He chose a high-rise building with intact tempered floor-to-ceiling glass all around. The view was good, and he could see most of the city. It was obvious that the company that had rented this place before was very rich. The decoration was luxurious and fashionable. After cleaning the sofa in the office, he found it was still very comfortable. The office of more than 100 square meters would be his temporary resting place. The office was isolated from the outside world by glass. This kind of glass was not uncommon in the past life. It could switch between fogging and transparency, but the piece in front of him seemed to be broken, causing part of it to be fogged and part of it to be transparent. As a result, it looked as if the glass was cut into countless pieces. The building of tens of meters seemed to be closer to the sky. The dark clouds seemed to be within reach. He took out the daily necessities prepared in the ring space. The rocking chair, tea set, lighting, kitchen utensils, etc., that he carried with him wherever he went. After simply arranging and cleaning the environment, Gu Jin began to practice. The bodybuilding method perfectly stretched his body, and the blood and spiritual energy in his body surged. The dense spiritual energy from the outside world was absorbed and refined, and Gu Jin clearly felt that the spiritual energy in his body was increasing at an astonishing speed. The cultivation talent at the demon level, plus the spiritual energy that was several times denser. Now Gu Jin's cultivation speed is several times that of himself a few days ago. The spiritual energy in his body is growing, and then it is tempered and forged when passing through various parts. At the same time, various characteristics are integrated with the aura and then spread to all the spiritual energy. The golden flame of the heart, the thunder of the bones, the luster of the skin, the condensation of the muscles. Quality and quantity fly together. According to his current cultivation speed, it is completely easy for Gu Jin to break through to the realm of nourishing qi. However, after he discovered that the meridians and dantian can melt and soften the characteristics of the whole body, he had a plan, which was to upgrade some important parts of the body and let the characteristics produced by them be integrated into the aura. This will make him become extremely solid after entering the Qinggu realm. It won't take too much time. He estimated that more than a month would be enough. This is already a very terrifying speed. How long has he been in the realm of nourishing qi? Only about 20 days. According to estimates, it may take him about 2 months to break through the qi-nourishing realm. Or he chooses to forge his foundation extremely solid, otherwise, the time will be shortened, and he can try to break through when his meridians are connected. Of course, his foundation will undoubtedly be incomparable to now. During the practice, Gu Jin did not completely relax. Although the formation was arranged around him, he still radiated his mental power to cover a radius of 100 meters. Suddenly, Gu Jin frowned, restrained his spiritual energy, and opened his eyes. Just now, he found that there was a vague shadow passing through his mental perception. The shadow retreated as soon as it touched his perception range, so he could not see what it was. He stood up and pushed open the glass door. It was pitch black outside the office, and various twisted shadows intertwined on the ground. Gu Jin's footsteps echoed in the empty floor. Huh. Gu Jin's eyes flashed with a gorgeous luster. He looked back at the corner. The figure disappeared like a phantom and chased after it, but found that the corridor at the corner was empty. Papa. The footsteps echoed, and another shadow flashed by. Gu Jin immediately chased after it. But when he caught up, the shadow disappeared without a trace. Slowly, Gu Jin came downstairs and stood on the ruined road. This was a crossroads. Huh. Gu Jin suddenly felt a cold gaze from behind, and immediately looked back, only to see a hunched figure standing by the road, with gray hair, thin body, and thin clothes. It was an old man. The old man faced him, lowered his head, raised his wrinkled dry right hand, and slowly waved to him. Gu Jin's pupils shrank, and his back felt a little cold. Although he knew that this world was full of monsters and beasts, he had seen monsters and beasts, and even killed many of them, but he had never come into contact with ghosts. At this time, in the empty ruins of the city, an old man stood by the road and waved to you, plus the gloomy and terrifying environment around. If it were someone else, they would probably scream in fear. But although Gu Jin was alert, for some reason, a demonic voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Come, come, come. Putting aside the unreliable thoughts, Gu Jin, who was standing in the center of the crossroads, took a step forward. He wanted to see what the other party was. Step. When he took the first step, Gu Jin found that the scene in front of him had changed. It was no longer the crossroads he was at before, but a bustling city. Noisy voices, people coming and going, and the hustle and bustle of traffic. 0579092210, Felu 130230180, woo woo woo. Suddenly, a shrill whistle sounded, and Gu Jin instinctively turned his head to look, only to see a dump truck rushing towards him like an out-of-control beast. Gu Jin instinctively wanted to dodge. But he was shocked to find that his speed that exceeded 6 times the speed of sound had disappeared, and his body was like a broken machine, and he had no time to dodge, and could only watch the dump truck attack. The whistling wind made Gu Jin's face hurt, and the moment the dump truck was about to hit him, Gu Jin slowly closed his eyes. Clear and bright. He did not give up, but his mind was calmed to a clear and bright state of mind. Plop. As if a stone was thrown into a calm lake, Gu Jin's mind was cleansed, his mind was clear, and his consciousness was calm. When he opened his eyes again, his eyes were deep and calm, as clear as the lake. The dump truck that hit him also disappeared, the prosperous scene disappeared, and the lost strength of his body returned. All around, it was still the dilapidated ruins, and across the road, the old man still waved to him slowly. Ghost wall? Illusion. Gu Jin couldn't help but guess that compared with the powerful blood body of the fierce beasts and monsters, the money ghost seemed extremely strange and caught people off guard. Just now, if Gu Jin hadn't had a strong mental power and a clear mind, let alone the realm of nourishing qi, even the practitioners of the ancient realm would have to follow the rules of Taoism if they were not careful. Sunk in the illusion, his mind was damaged in the end and invaded by the ghost. Seeing the old man still waving, come on. Brother, Gu Jin took off the hanging on his waist-long sword. Whoosh. It appeared in front of the old man as if it appeared out of thin air, and the ancient sword in his hand fell. The old man didn't react at all, but Gu Jin's sword pierced through the old man's figure lightly, as if it was an illusion in front of him. Boom. The old man wanted to escape, but Gu Jin had no intention of letting him go. The golden flame of his heart swept and burned, and the thunder of his bones spread and raged. The burning breath and thunder lingered on the sword. This time he clearly felt the fear of the ghost in front of him, and the thick black fog filled the air, but it was too late.